What's up, YouTube world? Great Gaming 88 back at it again, and I'm Petty Betty, okay? And today we are playing Redfall for the Xbox Series X while watching the Phil Spencer interview / apology. Let's get it. All right, guys, before we jump into this, I want to remind you that this game was created by the same developer that created Prey. And that's the remake, Prey, Dishonored, and Deathloop. 3 great games. What happened? Let's get into it.
We get to hang out with Phil Spencer. It's going to be a fun time together. Phil, let's just jump right into it. And it's a tough way to start this episode. It's my birthday this week, and I didn't want to have to do it like this. But, Phil, it's been a tough
already.
week
Look at that
in the
water.
Xbox universe. As you know, of course, the CMA kind of blocking our acquisition of Activision Blizzard King, and Redfall coming out to poor reviews at the launch. Let's start off at the top. Phil, let's talk about the CMA and, of course, this Activision Blizzard acquisition. How are you feeling about this? What should be the overall mindset for Xbox gamers when we look at this after months and months of conversation?
Yeah, we remain confident. Obviously, the news from the CMA, which for those not tracking all this, is the United Kingdom's regulatory board on acquisitions to block the acquisition. We'll be appealing that.
What is
that's
this?
That's our plan. We continue to work with the European Union. We'll continue to work with the FTC. I think there are like 14 jurisdictions all up. We're working on approval. I think we have 9 approvals so far.
That's crazy.
But the CMA decision was disappointing. I've been talking to that group for coming up on a year.
This looks really bad.
They've defined a market of cloud gaming that, in my mind,
look
doesn't
at
really
that
exist
water.
Yet today.
This is next
but they have a point
generation.
of view that maybe we have a lead in a
hold
market.
on. Look at this water. This is a next generation game. Look at these rocks. Okay, these are next generation rocks. Okay, that's a next generation boat. Look at this. What? Do you see the ripple effect in the water? That looks awful. I don't understand. I don't get it. How did this game make it this far? This is an Xbox Series X game. This is what they threw on Game Pass for us. All right? Just keep that in mind.
That is just forming, and that this content could somehow prohibit others from competing in that market. But we'll appeal. We stay on it. The company remains very, very committed. We think Activision Blizzard King is not our strategy, but it is an accelerant for our strategy. So we're still heads down and working through regulatory.
I'm pleased to hear that, of course, as a big fan of many of those gaming franchises over there. I'm looking forward to seeing this deal go through, and I'm glad to hear that you and the team are still hard at work at making this happen. It's been a long road. It's been a tough road to talk about it each and every single week, kind of falling apart, but
it's always the Brits, isn't it, Mike? We're always the fly in the ointment. We just got to rain on everyone's parade.
It's a tough one, Gary. Of course, we got to move on to the next one. Phil, of course, Redfall has released from Arcane Austin, and it's been a tough release week for that, coming out to low reviews and a lot of disappointment from many fans. Can you talk about that? What is your thoughts right now as we head into the first week of this game being out?
Yeah, man, I'll start. I'll hit Redfall, but I'll just say all up. There's nothing that's more difficult for me than disappointing the Xbox community.
So why did you do it?
I've been a part of it for a long time. I obviously work on Xbox, head of the business.
Nothing. You don't want to disappoint the Xbox community, but you did it. You did it. Look at this game. I mean, you saw the water. Okay, the water looks atrocious. This boat, the controls are atrocious. You don't want to disappoint, right? But you did it. You did it. And that's the problem. Okay? You let this game fall through the cracks, and this is what we got. Why? You're disappointed because you upset the community, but you let this game come out. You let this game be placed onto the Game Pass unfinished. 30 FPS. It's wrong. It's wrong.
Business, have a lot of friends, get a lot of feedback, and just to kind of watch the community lose confidence, be disappointed. I'm disappointed. I'm upset with myself. I kind of revisit our process. I think back to the announcement of 60 frames per second, and then we weren't shipping 60 frames per second. That was kind of our punch in the chin, rightfully, a couple weeks ago. And then seeing the game come out, and the critical response was not what we wanted, and it's disappointing. And so, kind of pick myself up. What can we learn? How can we get better? One thing I'll fight is kind of what went wrong. There's clearly quality and execution things that we can do, but one thing I won't do is push against creative aspirations of our teams. Mm-hmm. Then a lot of people will say, hey, you've got teams know how to do one kind of game. Just force them to go do the one kind of game that they have a proven track record for. And I'm just not a believer in that. Maybe that means I'll under-deliver for some of our fans out there.
It's not about forcing.
When a team like Rare wants to do
and that's the problem. See, that's what he doesn't get. It's not about forcing developers to go and do games that they don't want to do, to go do games that they have great track records of. It's about looking at the product. Okay? It's about looking at the product and taking what you see and making it better before you deliver it to the community. Showing one portion of the game to make fans happy, to say, hey, this is what we have coming. Look at this. It looks great. It looks amazing, right? And then as time goes on, as development goes on, the game doesn't get any better. So it's not about forcing companies to do games that they're better at doing. It's about helping these companies take the game that they're creating and making those games better. Because Redfall can be a better game. But you chose not to take the fan feedback and roll with whatever it was we have. And now you're using this as damage control to say, hey, we want, I don't want to go and tell companies that they have to do this game because they're better at it. Nobody said that. Nobody asked for that. That's damage control. Continue, sir.
Like Obsidian wants to do Grounded, when Tango wants to go do Hi-Fi, when everybody probably thought they were doing Evil Within 3. I want to give the teams the creative platform to go and push their ability, push their aspirations. But I also need to have a great selection of games that are continue to come that surprise and delight our fans, and we under-delivered on that, and for that I apologize. It's not what I expect, not what I want, but it's ours to deliver.
So following up on that, Phil, so again, I appreciate the transparency on that, but there is a second component to this. And as you may or may not know, I talk to a lot of people in the Xbox community because I want to understand, what people are excited about, what they're frustrated about, things like that. So kind of sticking on this conversation about Redfall, but it's kind of a bigger general question as well. And I kind of want to read directly from this so I make sure I get it crystal clear. So what goes into the decision to delay a game when you launch it feature incomplete or there's a bunch of technical issues? Obviously, we've seen recent examples around the industry. Redfall and Halo Infinite are two that stick out in my mind for Xbox. We obviously have seen the review scores. Clearly, we've had the opinion that the game should be delayed. We know every developer wants to ship the best game that they possibly can, but from your level, what's the balance there on when to ship a game that may be feature incomplete or have some technical issues, or just simply give it more time and delay it?
Well, I think those are, and I'm happy to go very deep on this. I think if I think about a team's execution on a game,
look at this game.
We had a creative vision, and did we
Controlling
realize that vision through the game that we created? That's not a delay question. If the answer is no,
I'd be pissed.
Like, you can't
if I spent
take something
money on this
that you started on. This isn't a Redfall specific conversation,
right.
But we will build games that review in the high 80s, and we will build games that review in the 60s. I mean, it's just kind of part of being in game publishing. And if you're afraid of that, then you shouldn't be in the entertainment business. You shouldn't be in the games business. That said, every time we deliver something below our own internal expectations that surprises us, we should check our process. I don't look at the review scores on Redfall, and there are quality issues, and we're working on those. But I think there's a fundamental piece of feedback that we get, that the game isn't realizing the creative vision that it had for its players. That doesn't feel like hey, just delay it. That feels like the game had a goal to do one thing, and when players are actually playing, they're not feeling that thing. They're not feeling the creative execution of the team. When a game needs to be delayed, what we did with Halo, we did with Starfield, we did with Redfall, because the production timeline is saying we have this vision and our production timelines don't get us to the completion of that vision, we do delay games. We do that. Learning about the quality, there are clearly, I've seen them. I know there are bugs in Redfall that's launching. But when I look at like the crash rates on the game, because we get all the telemetry of everything that's happened, it's not out of proportion for a game that has just launched. It's kind of in the pocket of what we would expect. That's not to deny any of the animation, streaming of texture bugs, the AI bugs that we've seen. We will go work on those.
Yeah.
But when I look at the review scores of this game, it's did we have enough creative differentiation in our core idea? And did we realize that creative ambition? I'm a huge supporter of Arcane Austin. Their track record is awesome. I love a lot of the great games that they've built.
That was an explosion, by the way. That was an explosion. Do you see these animations? These animations are absolutely terrible. Okay? Look at these trees. These are next generation trees. This is next generation fire. Okay? Kill It With Fire, a game that's on Xbox Game Pass right now, has better fire than this. Okay? This is terrible. Look at the flickering. Look at the flickering. This is bad. This is bad. This is not good. This is not good. Which is why he's on Xcast right now trying to damage control. This is not good. Playing the game and watching this at the same time proves that this guy is full of it. He's full of it because this is nothing but corporate BS. This is the guy trying to damage control so, he can still make his fat paycheck when it's all said and done. Okay? Look at these textures. Look at these buildings. Look at this. This is terrible. This is a Series X game. This is next generation. Do you know how powerful the Series X is? The Series X is absolutely powerful. It's powerful. And this is what we get. It makes no sense. I don't understand, but let's continue.
One where the team didn't hit their own internal goals when it launched. I think it's maybe a little simplistic to just say, hey, if you would have just delayed it 3 months, the core creative of the game would have delivered on something that was different than what it was. So I look at them at different camps. If there's a production timeline issue, we've been open to delaying. If we just have more bugs than we should have at the end of a game, we're open to delaying. At some point, we have to have a creative vision and put the game out, and reviewers and players will tell us what they think.
So, Phil, when you say you're disappointed, does that mean that you thought the game was going to be better received, or was it in line with expectations? How surprised were you by the reaction, or how, like, internally, how much do you know? I feel like this one, people we know the game it has problems. Like, to what extent was this different from what you expected? And also, and sorry, I know I've been talking a long time. And the second part of that is, when a game is released now, it's not like the old days when a cartridge was shipped in a box and the release of the game was the end of the game's like development cycle. Now it's just the 1.0 release is just a point on the roadmap. To what extent, given that what we're talking about here is not just 30 frames, but design issues, things that may be more conceptual.
A lot of developers now
to what
at this
extent
point
do you think or are you committed to
that it's okay, since we're not in those times anymore where the game ships on a cartridge and, like he said, that's the end cycle of development. Now developers are like, hey, times have changed. We can add updates at any time we want. We ship a game at bare minimum, even though people paid full price for it, and we can just update it whenever we want. That's simply what gaming is nowadays, and that's for everything really that pretty much releases at this point. And it's a lot. It's just a terrible thing. I don't believe that companies should continue to play the game where they say, hey, as long as we can update the game after it comes out, it shouldn't matter. It does matter. It matters to people who are shelving out their hard-earned cash for your games just to become disappointed because it doesn't live up to what you showed, or it's not up to par. And it's not fair. It's not fair, especially when games now cost $70. If you're charging $70 for a game and your game comes out and it's just absolutely horrible, but you can sit there and say, oh, we'll put it in a patch, we'll put it in an update. It's a slap in the face, especially for people who pay for season pass, especially for people who pay for a deluxe edition of a game, just for you to say, oh, we'll add an update later on. It's highway robbery. That's exactly what it is. You don't give us what we are supposed to get at launch. You add it during an update further down the line. It could be 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. It depends. And it's not right.
Continuing to work on the game and getting it maybe a year down the road, Cyberpunk, No Man's Sky, we've seen these redemptive stories in the past. To what extent do you hold out hope that you can still get the game closer to where you wanted it to be at launch? I know that was a lot.
No, at first I thought your words about creative ambition of teams, you especially, you've lived this, you've done this, are very well said and very spot on. So thank you for that. And that's why I love your voice in this community, because you've created, you've seen kind of ups, and as anybody in the industry, we've all seen downs. And on the score, yeah, we do mock reviews for every game that we launch, and this is like double digits lower than we thought we would be with this game through our mock reviews. And that's what's one of the disappointing things. Like we would never strive to launch a game that we thought was going to review in the low 60s. It's not part of our goals. If you look at our review scores over the last year, it's not a defense at all. If you look at the review scores over the last year,
it's a joke.
I think the teams have done a better job in upping the level of quality of the games.
It's not about
shipped.
Other
Some
games.
Of those games
it's about
on
Redfall.
PlayStation, but still, when I go through the list of the games, you still have to build a game, you still have to ship a game.
That's crazy.
And this game was significantly below our internal metrics in terms of where it actually reviewed. But that's not on anybody but us. Like,
Correct.
We have to own that. In terms of our commitment to the game, absolutely. The team at Arcane is on taking the near-term feedback. We're still working on the 60 frames per second. We have a good timeline for that. We're committed to getting that done.
What's that
and
timeline,
we're going to
Phil?
continue to work the game. I think we've
Tell us
shown
the timeline.
a commitment to games like Sea of Thieves and like Grounded.
Is it going to be like Fable, where you announce it and
games.
just never show anything again?
I also know that these games are $70, and I'm not gonna I'm gonna take full responsibility for launching a game that needs to be great. I think what I have with the Xbox community, what I am a part of, is a team. There's still questions that pop every so often of how committed is the company to this category. When are we just going to push Xbox out of the market? There's a lot of Twitter firing of Phil right now, which is fine. I'm way overpaid for the role I have anyway. So I get that's my responsibility. But
this man just admitted again, he is way overpaid. Way overpaid. So he's going to take full responsibility. This man doesn't care. He told you just now that he's way overpaid. there's your answer right there. He doesn't care about the community. He doesn't care about anything. He's damage controlling. Once again, okay? And to sit here and say, yeah, I'm overpaid, so I take full responsibility. You have no choice but to take full responsibility. It's your job. It's your job to get on the internet and do interviews, or wherever you go to do your interviews, and spew corporate BS. It's your job. It's your job to do that. And you just admitted to the entire world that you are overpaid. So it is your responsibility. To me, that sounds like, when you sit here and tell me that you're overpaid, first of all, like, yeah, you may be overpaid, but you're showing the world that you don't care about the product. You're here to take full responsibility because you are overpaid. That's what you get paid to do. You get paid to take all the blame. You look stressed. I'm looking at you, bro. You look angry. You look like you haven't had any sleep. You lost a lot of sleep, Mr. Overpaid Actor. Okay? You get on Xcast talking about you are overpaid, so you will take all responsibility. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and just continue.
We will remain committed to the game and the players as long as the players want to go play games. And that's my commitment to the community. I'm kind of at a low point right now in terms of my delivery on that commitment to the community.
Overpaid actor.
It very much stays. I want to support the team. And I want to support the creative ambitions of the team.
I can't trust anything this guy says.
The players. And we let a lot of people down
because he's overpaid
with the launch of the game.
He don't care.
But
he's
overpaid.
We
will continue to strive.
He gets paid for this.
You have to, right? That's what creative is about.
No, you absolutely do. And to kind of start transitioning this into
everybody sees right
news,
through you.
But I do want to address
I see right
something
through you.
Around that.
Goofy.
Obviously today you announced the Xbox Game Showcase, which will be happening this June, and obviously there's going to be a lot of new reveals and surprises that come out of that, which is great.
I could see through
but
your
I am
body.
going to bring it back again to another common theme that I do hear through the community, and I've actually said this to you in the past, but it's about communication coming from Xbox. I do feel back in 2021, you did a fantastic job with communication, which arguably has been the best year during this current generation of Xbox. Obviously, we know that 2022 was a light year for Xbox as far as releasing titles. Now, last year, during the showcase, you had the 12-month plan. You didn't necessarily deliver on all the games coming.
No, we didn't deliver.
Not
necessarily. We didn't deliver.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at that. He's getting mad.
My point of bringing that up is this, talking about some of the lessons learned that come out of that.
That sounded like an angry, overpaid actor.
Game making the 12 months, going back to, again, game
he acting
things
right now.
happen. Things aren't always going to come on time. But as we go into this showcase, one of the common themes that I hear is I don't know enough about things that you've announced in the past, like even more specifically going back to 2020. And I'll just run down a quick list of it. Vowed. Perfect Dark, Everwild, which is something we really don't know that much about. Fable, State of Decay 3, Contraband. Obviously, we've seen a little more in Hellblade 2. We have studios like In Exile and Compulsion Games that we know are working on things, but we haven't seen any real updates on that.
So where are they?
I titled all my questions Balance and Communication, because even in this, it's like, what is that balance on when you show something that is going to be years down the road, and kind of that cadence of providing updates along the way. And obviously, as we go into this showcase, not that you need to reveal anything specific,
because he's a numbers guy.
What were some of those lessons learned?
He wants to sell consoles
that you'll bring into this one.
He doesn't care when the game's released, as long as the announcements sell consoles. That's it.
So I'll apologize for staying in kind of cranky mode. But in terms of lessons learned, and I'll even go back to the Redfall videos on IGN of showing videos of
everyone
the game
sees right through you, Phil,
on PC. At the point knowing that the game was going to run 30 frames per second at launch on console, like, we have to be transparent about what we're showing. That what we're showing is representative of what our console customer, our most committed customer to our brand, financially committed, what they're going to see, what they're going to play.
This is horrible.
And that transparency just has to get better. And I'm not pointing at anybody but myself, right? You can't
point at anybody else.
At some point, I will have enough knocks against me that it's somebody else here.
Let them go.
But that I think it's transparency in what we're building, what our aspiration is for the game, what it's going to look like, what the features are. And it drives me crazy when we self-inflicted wounds of kind of putting things out there in communication that's confusing or misleading about what the actual end product is going to be. So you can try to take me to positive space. I'm just not in that headspace right now. That said, when I go and I look at Showcase, and I'm not going to try to oversell Showcase here, because if I were on the other side of watching this, it's like, hey, after Redfall, I'm going to put my hands on the controller, and that's what's going to take to kind of prove to me. But that's not what Showcase is. So I'm very enthusiastic about Showcase. We're going to announce some things that people haven't seen, some new games. We're going to give updates to some of the things that were on the list.
No.
The other thing
you are going to announce things that we're not going to hear about for another 5 to 10 years, because that's what you do, Phil. Okay? You announce games, and we don't hear about it. When was Perfect Dark announced? When was Fable announced? When was State of Decay 3 announced? When was Avowed announced? Now, let me tell you, every year I try to remember the game Avowed, because I can't. Until someone brings it up, or until I happen to magically come across it, I don't remember about it. And the reason why I don't remember is because the game was announced and then it kind of just went silent. Just like Fable, just like State of Decay 3. It's very sad. So you can't sit here and tell us that you want to announce things. You got to announce, and you got to give us product. You can't announce other games when you haven't fulfilled the original promises. And that's facts, man. And I just saved a screenshot because I'm pissed. Let's keep going.
What's me really excited is when I look forward over the next quarters, which has always been my focus of how do we get a big game out every quarter at quality.
Every game.
That things are
game
lining
out every
up
quarter. Get out of here, man.
After some of the slowdown through
Joke.
COVID, I'm tired of talking about that. But I can now see that we've got games coming every quarter that I think will surprise and delight our customers. We still have to deliver on the creative. We still have to deliver on the technical. Not every game we ship is for everybody. We know that. Like, I don't want to build, I'm not trying to build the one game to rule them all. We will have different creative takes and we have a very diverse portfolio when you think about the stuff that Microsoft Game Studios builds. But I like that. I think for what we're trying to do as Xbox, which isn't to mimic any of the other platforms out there, it's create our own brand and identity. The diversity of what we build, hopefully, will end up being a strength. But we have to do it at quality. We have to do it on time, and we have to show people what they're actually going to see. We have to show gameplay, and I think I'm kind of beyond that. Like, we've got to put great games in the hands of our players.
You have to show people what they actually want to see. Gameplay. You cannot keep announcing games and not giving us the gameplay, and then going quiet. We need the gameplay. From now on, Phil, if you want to keep your job, you need to show the games that you are promising. You need to keep us updated on games that you are promising. And I can't go. I just don't understand how a lot of these games have fell through the cracks. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. Nothing about this guy makes sense to me.
There's nothing else.
If I could follow up on that, and I apologize, I do not want to dominate the conversation, but I make sure I want to follow up on the point of everything that you
You're
just
a smart
said.
man.
And I'll take it from a personal standpoint. I've been a big believer in what Xbox has been building since about 2016, right? Xbox Play Anywhere, Game Pass, what you're doing with the Series X and S, just the cloud initiative, everything. I love all the services and the marketing message that you present to the community. But to your point, and for me personally, I have Game Pass. My kids play it. We all love it. But you even mentioned, delivering quality experiences every quarter, things like that. That's the sentiment that we get from the community right now. That's the sentiment that I even have of, it's great to talk about these things. I think we've been talking about them ad nauseum. it's like, when are we going to get to that point of actually delivering these experiences? Like I just ran down those games. There's 20 something studios. Forget Activision. Xbox Game Studios, what it is today. There's more than enough studios and titles out there that we're all anticipating. And I think that is the common frustration that I see out there from people, that it's like, we're tired of hearing wait till next year. And I know you know that, but
I know,
it's like,
I know.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
This year started out well.
Yeah,
I
yes,
thought
it
Developer Direct was received well. The team did a really good job, I thought, with the messaging around to your point, around setting expectations.
This is terrible.
And
Look,
I will
man.
even say, yes,
Get out of here.
I'm rooting for the home team here, but I'll say over-delivering on expectations of that show versus what it was. I think the drop of Hi-Fi to say, hey, if you've got Game Pass, you don't even have to buy the game. Like, just go click. People loved Hi-Fi. Something we don't talk a lot about, that same month, Age 2 on console shipped. Truth be told, more people are playing a bunch of people are playing Hi-Fi and Age 2, but Age 2 actually has more players right now. But all the fanfare goes to the highly rated kind of new Hi-Fi. Get that. It's a great point. And I think I love your quote, Gary. I might lift that from you. People don't have to care about this, but I'll talk about it. When we acquire studios, there's games that are in development when we acquire a studio, and then there's things that are either really early in development or not even conceived yet. And I think we need to improve on engaging in games that are midway through production when they become part of Xbox. I do think there's a different expectation for a game and even a team when you've been third party and all of a sudden you become part of first party. There's a different expectation in terms of how you're going to perform on our console. I think there's a different competitive set when people look at what this game is and the other games that they're going to say, hey, I want this game to feel as competitive as this other game on another console platform in our case. And we didn't do a good job early on in engaging with Arcane Austin to really help them understand what it meant to be part of Xbox and part of first party, and use some of our internal resources to help them and kind of move along that journey even faster. So we kind of left them to go work on the game. They're a very talented team. I love that team, and I still do, and I will totally bet on them to do another great game. But when like Matt Booty and Jamie Leader, who's running ZeniMax, and I sit down, I think we can engage earlier with our different studios. And I do think there's a difference when we come in when the creative's already set on a game. That's not washing our hands of any of the creative. Every game we ship from our teams is an Xbox game. And so it's a full responsibility for it. But thinking about how our internal processes of dev assistance, even some of our internal ATG resources, what's the Advanced Technology Group, and how those work with our internal teams, I think we can do a better job with our internal teams. We did a better job with Starfield. Again, nobody should believe it until they're playing the game.
You know what? I'm done. I'm done listening to this guy. This guy is the worst, man. He's spitting a bunch of corporate BS. Once again, the man is literally telling people what they want to hear. And this is how they get you, okay? Because I don't believe anything this guy is saying. I don't believe anything that's coming out of his mouth right now. So, with that being said, you guys need to take with a grain of salt. From here on out, Xbox, Microsoft, they are under a microscope at this point. Because the things that they are doing, games that they're announcing, no gameplay footage, keeping us in the dark, it's tearing the company down, it's tearing the community down, and I think we need to keep them under this microscope, and we need to hold them accountable for everything, starting with their announcements, their gameplay, their 30 FPS games. We have to hold them accountable for everything they do, because if we don't, we are going to continue to get games like Redfall, and we're going to continue to be disappointed. And let me tell you, I've been playing Xbox since the original, and it seems like every year or every generation, my love for Xbox just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. From a company that I know can do great, from a company that I excuse me, from a company that I know can be simply amazing. Okay, Xbox 360 is one of the greatest Xbox consoles ever created, and had some of the greatest games ever created. So let's hold them accountable. Let's not stand for this any longer, and let's be better. It's that simple.